This is the Saturday Morning Serial Podcast with your host, Amanda Ann. What's up, guys, and welcome to the Halloween episode of Saturday Morning Serial. I'm Amanda Ann, and today I have a very special guest joining me, and we're going to talk about our top 5 Halloween movies and why. And his name is Kevin Greene, and Kevin is a talented director, cinematographer, writer, and actor, but he also loves a great horror film. Now, before we dive in, who has seen Halloween Kills? I do enjoy watching the Halloween films, and after watching the sequel to the 2018 film, I am so ready for this holiday. Halloween is my favorite holiday because you get to dress up as a favorite character, get the fall decor out. I love pumpkin-flavored breads and pastries, and I overall like a good scare watching scary movies. Halloween Kills is directed by David Gordon Green and picks up right after its predecessor, Halloween, that was released in 2018. And my thing is, these movies actually do creep me out because I get nervous over events that happen in this film, and that can happen in real life. Now, I know these Halloween movies in particular can be a little extra with the gore and such, but someone creeping into your house or stalking you on the street can happen. As my grandma always says, and it's true, be more afraid of the living than the dead. That's why I can watch a ghost or a paranormal film, no problem. But, most of them. Paranormal Activity did scare the crap out of me. That ending, This film was supposed to be a sequel, but for those that have seen it, you know what I mean. Jamie Lee Curtis is back and badass as ever, although she is injured. I can tell in the 2018 film and this one that these movies are her babies in a way. And overall, this cast is great once again, and overall the film is pretty good. I watched it on Peacock, but I'm sure in a movie theater it's more creepy. I saw the 2018 film in the theater with my brother, and there's nothing like seeing a scary movie at the movies, being in the dark, the big screen, the very loud sound, and I personally love going to see a horror movie, especially on opening weekend, because the audience reactions are the best. Also, a few side notes. I'll be writing up an article covering some things I've watched this week, such as Dune. I know everyone's talking about that film, so Mike and I are going to sit down and we're going to watch that this week. And we're going to see Last Night in Soho on Friday, which, again, another great horror film that's coming out. Hopefully, I'm so excited for it. Hopefully it's good, and I'll be having some positive reviews on that. So make sure you guys keep your eyes peeled on social media for that. And I am throwing in a shameless plug here for a short film I actually wrote, directed, and edited. It's called Creeper. I made it a few years ago, and it's perfect for this topic of just Halloween, scary films. And the link to that, if you're interested, is in the description of this podcast episode. So make sure you check that out. Let me know what you think. And also, make sure you stick around for the end of this podcast episode for an announcement. So without further ado, put on your costume, grab some yummy Halloween treats, and please welcome to the podcast, Kevin Greene. Woo!
Hello. How's it going?
Oh, it's going. Can't wait for Halloween.
Exactly. I know.
It's my favorite
Very
holiday, literally.
And I get 2 of them this year because I teach 3rd grade. So I get to have it on Friday with the kids, and then I get to have it on Sunday, like for real.
Like for real though, that's what I miss about grade school are like the holiday parties.
Yes, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm showing them Halloween Town. We're actually on Halloween Town 2 because I'm
Yes.
also a fan of Disney horror films.
Yes.
So
much
that's,
yes.
yeah. Yes.
I watch Halloween Town every year. Me and Mike were just sitting down watching it, and Mike's like, "You watch this movie every year?" And I'm like, "Damn right I do."
That's a tradition. You have to.
You have
Yes.
to.
And this year I put on 2 for the first time in a few years, and I was like, actually, this one's really good too.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm showing it to my kids, so I'm watching it actually twice this year, so I'm catching up.
Yeah. And it makes you feel really old too.
Absolutely. When my kids saw the beginning of the second one today, and they saw the boy that was in it, the son, they were shocked at how big he got from the first one to the second one.
Oh,
And I said,
yeah.
"That's gonna happen to you too in between 5th and 7th grade."
Right? Oh my goodness, they'll
Yep.
just sprout right up.
Yep,
I was
that's
actually
right.
looking on that kid's Instagram, and yeah, he's like a heavy metal rocker guy now. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's funny.
but he still kind of has like the baby eyes that he has as a kid in the films, so it's really cute.
That's hilarious. I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to look that up. I would love because to see him as that person would be very trippy because he was
Yeah.
such a nerd in that movie.
Oh yeah, I was like, "Whoa, you changed."
Very
But
cool.
anyway, Kevin, thanks so much for coming on and tell us a little about like your work in film, some of the projects you've worked on.
Yeah, for sure. I started making movies when I was 18 years old, with a group of my friends. I was actually at a co-ed sleepover, my very first co-ed sleepover, and I said, "This is awesome. I have enough friends to make a movie because I have a bunch of girlfriends and a bunch of guy friends." So now, so I was writing the movie that night in front of all of them, and I was telling them, "Let's do this. Let's do this." And we did. We started shooting a month later, and that was our first movie that came out in 2008. And then we made gosh, 10, 11 other movies, most of them in the horror realm. One in particular was called Night of the Clowns, and I think it's probably my favorite one just because it's kind of a series format, so it was cool to develop the characters in those movies. And I right now I'm actually trying to get the fourth one up and going, and I'm thinking that it might be filmed as soon as next month. So I'm actually really excited about that because due to the pandemic, I haven't shot anything in 2 years. The last
That's
thing I
crazy.
shot was with my students. We did a movie called Birthdays for the film club that I lead at the school, and the movie was about 10 kids who were all born on the exact same day and how it caused them great frustration and animosity to the point where even the principal noticed it. So she shut down the school and had them come to school by themselves on their birthday. And they had to compete against each other in this game called, what was it called? Flag football. I think that's the one where you tear the flags off people's waistbands,
Mhm.
and the winner was going to be the head birthday person, and it just turned into this hilarious um, movie where the kids got to learn so much and see it. And so honestly, I actually, for my film projects, have been going in the kid movie direction, and and I'm really liking it.
Awesome. And that's awesome. You got like a kids club at your school for film. Like I wish I had that.
And it's amazing. We shoot on iPads and we use an app called Filmic Pro. And the app has actually been used in many Hollywood films, including Tangerine. And it's something that anybody can download for $16. And it has exposure, it has frame rate, it has um, the way you want to size. Do you want it to be widescreen? Do you want it to be full screen? And so many more features, and the kids just ate it up, and they loved learning about that part of the technology, which was really cool.
Oh my god, that is so cool. Like,
Yeah.
man, I'm jealous. Like these kids these days, they don't know how lucky they have it to have all this technology literally at their fingertips. Like you can just edit movies on your phone now.
Yes. Back in 2008 when I started, I had a handheld camera that was used for, home birthday parties. That was the only
Mhm.
thing that was really available, which is, it's crazy to think because 2008 was only 13 years ago. So for there to be so many more things in that short period of time, and I'm just like you. I am so jealous because I could have used Filmic Pro when I was a kid. That would have
For
made
sure.
things a lot better for me.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because I used to vlog too, and like way back in high school, my friends and I would go to the city and we would just make, funny inside joke videos. But you would have this like I had this like $20 camcorder from Walmart that shot on like the lowest resolution, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so good times on that.
It's the rite of passage too. Like, I think even with the kids now with that technology, a lot of them choose to do stop motion. A lot of times they'll come to me and say, Mr. Green, I did stop motion. I'm like, are you sure? Because that's actually really tedious.
Hmm.
What does tedious mean, Mr. Green? And then I have to explain that. And then they tell me that, in fact, they have created a stop
Oh my god.
motion picture. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, very. So they like to actually get down to the nitty gritty, even with the availability of this new technology. Because it's
Yeah.
making movies is such an art. And if you love it,
Hmm.
I think you're hungry to understand it at its root.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. But Kevin,
I've
what
got
is
my
it
dog
about?
coughing in the background.
Oh, it's
Sorry about
okay. Aw.
that.
So what is
Yeah,
it
he's a
about the horror movie genre that keeps people such as like you and like myself entertained and overall just fans of these films?
I thought about that a lot because it if you actually think about it, it's strange that I feel that it's strange that I have this desire to go to a movie theater to watch people get butchered. Um, and I'm like, but is that why I'm going? It's not. I think what keeps me interested is I love this idea of the survival, like fighting for
Yes.
survival, and that character versus character is just so amplified in horror films because it's like the ultimate. Like they're trying to kill you, and you will die if you don't outrun them or outsmart them. And to see the choices that characters make is interesting when they're put in those situations. Um, but yeah, I definitely think it's that it's that just I don't know, like Jamie Lee Curtis and all those lead girls, I just look at them and to me, they represent just full on badassery. And I
Oh yeah.
think it's so much fun to watch them at the end just do their thing and and beat the bad guy. I love it.
Oh yeah, and it's just like kind of a like representation of life where if you were in a situation, how would you react? And
Yes.
it's just yeah, it's not, I don't want to say it's fun to watch, but it just captures your interest, I guess.
Yeah, and but you know what? It's I agree like the the what you're watching isn't fun, but then when you're sitting next to your friends and you scream or you jump together and then you get to laugh with each other, that's
Mm-hmm.
where it really comes full circle because now you have a truly enjoyable experience. Like, even if you're watching people get killed, it's like it's hilarious because you're super scared, but you're safe in a theater and you're with your friends. So it's fun too in that way, I think.
Oh yeah, and there's nothing like going to a horror movie on opening weekend with the crowd, the
Yes.
audience. I mean, probably pre-Rona, but you know, we're gonna go see Last Night in Soho on Friday. I'm so excited because I
I
just love
cannot wait to
seeing.
see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just love
I can
seeing these movies in a big dark theater for the first time. It's great.
yes.
It's all about the
Yes. And
experience.
we used to go back in the day on midnight on Friday morning, or
Hmm.
sometimes they would do um, even Thursday morning at midnight, whatever it was. And we would be in there, Scream, Halloween, any scary movie. And it was funny. One time we went and we saw a movie that wasn't a scary movie at midnight, and it just was not as fun. You
Hmm.
gotta watch the scary stuff at that
Yep.
time, I think.
Oh yeah.
Um, that actually is reminding me of Rocky Horror Picture Show right now because that's another late night movie that I love going to the theater for.
And then you get home, and then it's like, even if you weren't scared, you still go home, turn the lights off, and you have this uncomfortable feeling just creeping in. And then you
Yes,
wake up the next morning,
absolutely.
and you were like, then you're like, oh, why was I even afraid? Like,
Oh yeah, no.
I
Sometimes I'll
love
wake
that.
up and I'll forget that I watched a movie last night. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did
Hmm.
watch that.
But I know you were a big fan of the new Halloween film, which is the sequel to the 2018 one, Halloween Kills. And I gave my thoughts in the intro, and like you said, Jamie Lee Curtis is a complete badass, especially in this one too. And you were telling me you actually watched
Yes.
this film multiple times. So what is it about this new film that just keeps making you go back and rewatch it?
Um, there's a couple things. Firstly, I normally rewatch things like this um, when they first come out. So when an American Horror Story season starts up, I'll watch the first episode probably two or three, maybe even four times before the second one comes out. I just get really into I just get into it. Um, and I find comfort in watching things multiple times because I can ignore them halfway the second time and I can still pick up on new things even though I'm halfway ignoring it and getting other work done. With
So true.
Halloween and the yeah, and with Halloween they put it on Peacock. So how
Mhm.
available it was, it's so easy to just turn it on and but with those things aside, it was such a good film. I really liked it.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
thought so
like it?
too.
What did you think about it?
I did, and it was funny because and just the ending especially, I was just like, okay, here we go, we're gonna keep going.
Yes. Yeah.
Bring
And
on the
which
next one.
did you know that there was going to be a third one before you watched this one?
I did not.
Oh, they shot them at the same time.
Yeah, I read that like right after I watched it, and I was like, oh, okay. Then
Yes.
it just
So
dawned
I
on
sort
me,
of
it made
went
sense.
yeah, and I went into it knowing that and I think like with Star Wars, there which is another series that I've seen all of, not that I love it, but I remember when the 2000 versions came out and when the more recent versions came out, I was always a little bit bored with the second one because
Mm-hmm.
I knew that there was another one and I knew that they were setting things up for the last one. And so the second one was always kind of a filler.
Mm-hmm.
This film, I think, could have fallen into that, but I don't feel like it did. I felt like it's a very solid um, chapter that continued, I would say something that was really important to series fans, which is the um, all the characters from the original coming back. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even Anthony Michael Hall, who was not the original actor, his character coming back was cool. Um, I thought it was interesting. One of the other characters they brought back was Lonnie, and if I remember correctly, in the old movie, he was one of the bullies. So I don't know um, how that character then became friends with Tommy, but
Mm-hmm.
that part I was a little I was wondering about that. I guess it makes sense though. They grew up in the same town. Maybe they became friends.
Small
But that was
town, you know.
interesting, and yeah, I loved it. I loved
Good.
it. I loved. Can we just for a second, talk about um, Lindsay Wallace, played by the Beverly Hills housewife? What's her name? I can't even remember her name right now. Uh, Kyle Richards. Oh my god, I love her. I'm obsessed with her. I don't want to give any spoilers. Am I allowed to give spoilers?
Go for it. It's on
Like,
Peacock.
I was very happy that she lived. I wanted her to
Yeah.
live. The whole time I was watching the movie, I was like, "Don't kill her.
Right.
Don't."
Yup.
But yeah, no, it was really great.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it was just one big homecoming for like all the
Yes.
characters. And it's interesting because it's almost like the antagonist got turned a little bit in this film. It's
Yes.
yeah, it's Michael Myers, of course, but he just plays with these people's minds and they go crazy. And I found that to be really interesting too, how the focus of just the villain and being the antagonist, it was the townspeople and not Michael Myers for like a hot second.
Yeah, I think it was poignant with our moment in history. I feel like the mob mentality has really become something that is there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was done so well. Like I feel like they really captured the essence of how that is bred. and how it overtakes. Um, and it was touching to see that one inmate, when he killed himself. It was hard to watch that. It was sad because, you know, we all know he wasn't Michael, but he was dead. They were going to kill him.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was definitely interesting. Today at school, I was teaching the kids about conflict and how you can have character versus character, which is normal horror film. But this film went further and did character versus society. And I think that that was definitely a smart move on the writer's part because it kept this very fresh. And this is, I believe, the 12th film in the Halloween series. So
Mhm.
it needed something to help it stand apart. And I think that that is exactly what it was that makes it so much stronger than some of the other sequels.
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So I told Kevin to pick his top 5 favorite horror films of all time. I did the same. So from going from 5 to 1, with 1 being your most favorite, Kevin, what is your number 5 pick?
Oh, okay. So my number 5 pick. I'm looking at my list and I'm making sure I'm committing to this. Okay. My number 5 pick is going to have to be Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay, classic.
Yeah, that's my number 5 pick. Should I tell
Why?
you my number 4, or are you going to tell me your number 5?
Well, I'll say my number 5, but why is that like on your list of favorites?
Nightmare on Elm Street is fantastic. It is trippy as hell, and it is everything I feel like somebody would want to see. Um, just like I don't know. It makes you realize that everybody has these crazy dreams. People getting sucked into the floor, and
Mhm.
just all these like I don't know. It's just I could watch it over and over and over again. I, as a matter of fact, could watch all of them over and over and over again. The second one is the most iconic gay horror film of all time. So it's huge in the gay community because it was this unspoken thing that this character was gay. And it just, as you rewatch it years and years later, you're like, these people were so smart because nobody realized it until way later.
Mhm.
So that's cool. And then 3, 4, and 5. I just think the visuals, they just again and again. I can't say enough about this series. And I love Nancy. I love Nancy. She's a
No.
great. Um, she's badass, and she's just awesome. So that's my number 5. What about you?
Awesome. So my list just consists of films that they have to have these major components, and that's what makes a great horror film, in my opinion, is just a great
Mm.
story, amazing visuals, a good balance of like scary, suspense, and story flow, and likable characters. So obviously, Freddy, he's iconic.
Yep.
Those Nightmare on Elm Street. So my number 5, and it's like you, I had to commit. I had to like keep looking at my list here, but I think my number 5 is Crimson Peak.
Mm.
And I love the visuals of this film because it's got this just gothic, romantic look and feel, and the costuming that replicates the very late 1800s. And just, I love the stark contrast of white, red, and black in this movie, too. And it was released in 2015 by the great Guillermo del Toro.
Mm. Mhm.
So, yeah, and in the beginning, it's interesting because it opens with the text saying, "This is not a ghost film." And in the end, that is true, even though there are ghosts in this movie, because it's all psychological in
Oh,
the end. Have you seen that, Kevin?
interesting. I haven't, and I wrote it down and I circled it, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
watch
it's
that.
on Netflix.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
Now, what is that girl's name? That's the star in that. Isn't she the girl who
Mia
plays
Vas.
Alice?
Yeah, it's Mia
Yeah.
Wasikowska. I can't really pronounce her name. And then Jessica Chastain. And then, my podcast
Yes.
viewers are going to be like, of course, it's Tom Hiddleston is in it too. He's one of my favorite
Oh,
actors.
very good.
But
Very
like this
good.
movie,
Yes.
there's just like a lot of twists and turns, and you just don't see a lot of things coming, and it's just very well made. And it's very beautiful for a horror film, which is weird to have the word beautiful and horror film in the same sentence, but it really is.
I think that I think that it's such a fun thing when films are beautiful. And I kind of feel like one of the reasons I like Nightmare on Elm Street is because of the sets and the beauty in their just disgustingness.
Right? The sploosh guns and
Yes.
everything.
Exactly.
So what is your number 4, Kevin?
Okay. Number 4 is going to have to be Sleepaway Camp.
Okay, that one I've never heard of.
Oh, you're gonna have to treat yourself.
Okay,
Sleepaway Camp
I'm writing that down.
is such a um because you haven't seen it, so I don't want to spoil it for you. But I will say this: it is one of the most confusing films in terms of just the why is this even why was this even made? I can't even believe this is happening. Was this something that actually used to happen? All these questions are racing through your head while you're watching this movie, and everything just seems so weird. And then at the end, you're just like, oh shit. And that's like the reaction that I have every time I watch it. And it has one of my absolute favorite characters of all time. Her name is Aunt Martha. And Aunt Martha is perhaps just my favorite character of all time in all horror films. I
Oh
just
wow.
love, and she's in only two scenes, and it just blew my mind. Every time I watch it, I just am mind blown. Um,
Have you
and
seen the Oh,
it,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, have you seen Midsummer?
No, you know what? I'm afraid to watch that
It's
because
so bad.
yeah, like for me, if it has to do with like a cult or um just sort of brainwashing whatever, I get very like uncomfortable,
Oh yeah.
like not even scared, like oh, that actually could really like happen, and I don't feel like I have control of whether or not that happens, so I don't want to watch that. Even
Yeah.
the new Quentin Tarantino movie bothered me a little bit when there were the scenes with the Manson family farm. um I was just like, ew, like
Yeah.
why would people choose to do that? And I'm so confused. And
Mhm.
anyway, so I have not seen Midsummer for that
Yeah.
reason because I know that it has something to do with kind of like a cult.
Well, I have to admit, I turned it off halfway through cuz I couldn't finish
Oh,
it. It was so I don't even know how to even describe it. Weird doesn't even
was it
begin.
was it graphic? Like, did it have like
It's it's
gratuitous violence?
graphic, yeah, but it's like you said, like the cult that I don't even call it a cult. I don't even know what it was. It was just like a group of people. And they celebrate this like tradition every year, but the way they go about it is just so creepy, and it's like, oh my god, like if you got stuck in the woods with these people, mm-mm. But
No,
anyway,
no.
have you seen? I was gonna say I can't think of the director of that, but he also did Hereditary. But
Oh, yeah.
I'm going right down the
Yep,
rabbit
which I
hole
saw
here.
that, and I have to
Yeah.
say that's another genre of horror that I'm not a huge fan of. When it
Mm-hmm.
comes to anything demonic, I'm just like, bye. I
Okay,
can't.
so my question was, so yeah, so Sleepaway Camp is it's not like anything crazy demonic or anything like that.
No,
Okay,
it's
great.
very state of the art, like your favorite kind. Like it is the Freddy, Jason, Halloween vein in terms of
Okay.
just like there is a killer killing people at a camp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wrote
So
it
I would
down, so I'm gonna check it out.
very cool. Yes. And I'm checking out Crimson Peak. So what's
Mm.
your number 4?
My number 4 is The Strangers, and I actually have that on cue to watch tomorrow with Mike because he's never seen it.
Did you
And
say
I'm going to
you
tell you
broke up
why.
just Well, you broke up just
What?
as you said the name of it. You broke up
Oh,
just
I
as you said
did?
the name of the film. Yeah, so was it The Strangers?
The Strangers, yeah.
Okay, yes, I have
Uh-huh.
seen that. Oh, Simic
Yeah.
hasn't seen it.
No, he hasn't seen
Oh.
it, and it's one of my favorites. And I'll tell you why, because it came out in 2008, so like I was 18 and I was able to sneak
Mhm.
my brother into a rated R movie, so that was cool, but it like
Mhm.
attracted me to the fact that it was just so damn scary judging by the trailers. And it had like my top fears in it, which is just like my house being broken into, someone staring at me from the other side of the house or outside, and I'm just like, why would I even want to go see it? But and I still don't know to this day why I like this movie so much. But for me, it's just like kind of like a facing fear dead in the face type of movie.
Mhm.
So I mean, and it's like just
Yes.
legit good. I mean, there's a story to it. The masked people aren't just, they're so scary. I mean,
They're
that
so
doll
scary.
face. Oh my god.
Mhm. Yes.
And it's just
I
like another thing of survival too.
Yes, very that. And I really loved Liv Tyler.
Oh yeah, she was
Like
excellent in that film.
seeing her, and she hadn't been in a movie in a while, and then when that film came out, I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember her now." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, very good." But I have to say, I also saw it in theaters in 2008 when I was 18, and I remember being so repulsed by this film because of the ending and
Oh
how
yeah.
they got just so much sick enjoyment out of it. Um,
Mhm.
it really bothered me to my core. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think like the most chilling line in that film is actually right at the dead end where the strangers are going down the road and they get stopped by a kid handing out like Jesus brochures, and he's like, "Are you a sinner?" And Dollface goes, "Sometimes." Like, no.
Oh yeah, like they just have no concept of. Yeah, they weren't even. That was what was really interesting. They weren't even people. They were just shells, and they didn't.
Mhm.
It was very disturbing.
Yeah.
Very disturbing.
I mean, visually though, it worked because like it had dark lighting, like yellow tone, scenes taking place outside, and it's just a situation the characters were put in of they literally couldn't do anything else. They couldn't get away. And for me, like I said, it was just like staring fear into the face when I saw this movie.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Absolutely. Good
yeah.
pick.
So what is your number 3?
Okay. At number 3, I have picked Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof, which
Okay.
I am sure is going to be a huge eye roll or um, a point of confusion for anybody who is listening because Death Proof was even said by Quentin Tarantino to be his least favorite film and his worst film that he's ever made. I absolutely love it. I love the women. I love the dialogue. I love the bar. I love being in Tennessee. I love being in Texas. And I just felt like I was there. Freaking Jungle Julia and all the shit she says. I was sold. And funny story, I saw this movie in April of 2007 when it came out on opening night with my friend Richie, and we had to sneak in um, to this, but we didn't have to sneak in. What we did was we had somebody buy the tickets for us and then we had to go in. So it was nerve wracking because they could have recarded us
So you
and they
snuck in.
didn't. So we snuck in. Yeah. Well, we paid for it. So it's
Right,
kind of
right.
sneaking in, but we did pay.
You're right.
And we paid for that movie too. I still have the
Mhm.
ticket stub actually. Um, but I just think it was the first time I watched a movie where I felt like I was in an experience. And I never felt like that before. I always felt like I was watching a movie. And in Death Proof, I really felt like I was just at the bar with all of these people. I was in the car when he was going to kill him. It was just so cool. And I think that with the death scenes, they had a lot of fun with them. So it's not about grossing out the audience so much as it is about just the exaggeration of the ridiculous. And I absolutely loved it. And I recommend it to everyone, including people who have already watched it, to rewatch it and to just try again because it's just so good to me.
I just wrote that down too because I haven't seen it
Yeah.
either, but I know his work, but yeah, I've never heard of that one, and that's probably why, unfortunately. And I mean, like one thing I always do is I give films a chance, even if they have crappy reviews,
Yes.
because it just all comes down to what you make of it, and
Correct.
like the
I agree.
reasons you just said about it. I mean, that's your personal connection with it.
Hmm. And well, and just watching it over and over and over again with my friends. My friend Jenna had a movie theater in her basement, and I kid you not, every single week that we would watch this in her basement, every single week we'd get together and we would watch it. It just never got old. I
Mm-hmm.
just, I've never had a movie like that with a group of people. So
Yeah.
there's also that sort of special connection.
Oh,
So yeah,
good. Yeah.
absolutely. Number three, Death Proof.
Good. Good.
What about you?
So my number three, and yeah, I know you don't. I don't know if you like these films or not, but The Conjuring. I
Oh,
love The Conjuring. Because I love James Wan. I love him as a director because he just approaches, especially like this film, so creatively,
yeah.
and it's just a great story about how like strong a family can be when they come together, and it ties in with a lot of multiple real life events into one story, and I really like how he just mashed everything together. And I also am a big fan of like Ed and Lorraine Warren. They're a real
Mm-hmm.
life, like I would say, like paranormal investigators, and I love Patrick Wilson in the role, Vera Farmiga. They're both just so great. Their chemistry just astounding. I wasn't a big fan of like this newer Conjuring that just came out, like this past, I think it was May or June. But the only reason why I watch them now is because of them too. But nothing beats the first Conjuring at all.
Yeah, the first one was so good. It's interesting how you said that. One of the things I think is so good about it is the fact that James Wan seemed to be able to handle so many stories and so many characters in a very short period of time, and he did it in a way that felt well paced.
Mm-hmm.
Because you feel like the mom is the main character at one point, and then it becomes Lorraine and her husband, and I um I really like how he did that. Also, that one was the scariest one,
Mm-hmm.
100% with that
Oh
witch
yeah,
on top of the cupboard. That was
yeah,
so scary. The third one, agreed, definitely the weakest in the series. I don't uh I don't really know why that movie happened. I
same.
do know why it happened. They were contracted to do it, but I I just don't know who said, "Yeah, let's let this one be the next one."
Mm-hmm.
Because the second one is argued by many to be better than the first one. I think it's almost as good, like
Mm-hmm.
almost as good.
Almost, yeah,
But
exactly.
I am of the opinion that the first is the best. So I was
Yeah,
very disappointed with the third one. As a standalone idea of a film, I was like, yeah, that was fine. But it just didn't feel like The Conjuring. Oh, you know what? Somebody and I had a conversation about this. I think it was our friend Maddie. I think part of the problem with Conjuring 3 was that we were in so many sets and locations, and it really took
yeah.
away from the intimacy that you sort of felt in the previous two
Mm-hmm.
films that sort of brought that scary ambiance.
Yes, I agree. And
So,
it's like I said, but like The Conjuring really like set the bar, I feel like. And I'm not gonna give away my number one pick at all, but um this movie just introduced like a whole other element of horror film to in my opinion, just like with the story, the creativity,
Yep.
likable characters, and even like the monsters, like the way he approached the scares was
Hmm.
like you see them like drifting off down the hallway and then they disappear, and then in the next frame they're in your face going like, look what you made me do, or
Yeah.
whatever they say,
Yeah.
like they scream in the character's face, and it's like, whoa.
Yes. It really gets your heart going.
Yeah, because it's like you think, oh, the ghost is just going away, but no, he's just right there screaming at you.
Yep, exactly. And I enjoy those kinds of scares. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's so cheap," but I'm like, "No, I think that that's like we talked about earlier, part of the fun when you get to jump with your friends."
Oh yeah, and then you just laugh afterwards like, oh, that got me.
Yep, exactly. I'll never forget one time I was sitting with my friend Johnny Rigg and we were watching this movie and it really wasn't that scary. It was haunting in Connecticut, but there
Hmm.
was this one moment and it was just a perfect storm. My Somebody upstairs made a noise as Johnny was turning to ask me a question, and then there was a loud scare jump on the movie, and me and Johnny screamed bloody murder. And neither of us had ever screamed at a movie before. We talked about it.
Yeah.
We were like, I've never screamed out loud at a movie before. But and it was like legit too. It was like we were genuinely screaming. Like that's how we would have screamed if we would have seen an actual killer.
Yeah.
Um, and it was such a joyous moment right afterwards because
Right,
even my
right.
parents upstairs were laughing at us. So I mean, it just I love horror films. I love
Yeah,
them.
love it, love it, love it. So what is your number two pick?
So number two, I am gonna go with Halloween. Halloween
Yes, okay.
is such it's just it's just so important to the genre. The story is amazing. The It's just all perfect to me, and I can watch it a million times. And to be honest with you, my number two is really the series.
Hmm.
I could watch the series 100 times, and quite often I will watch them in order because I want to see it as one giant story. So, definitely, I would actually probably have to say the whole series, but number one is the best.
Yeah.
What
My
about
number
you?
two is the one and only Pennywise the Dancing Clown, aka the Bill Skarsgård version of,
Oh,
yeah, It chapters one and chapter two, directed by Andy Muschietti.
yes.
I was so blown
So okay,
away.
here.
I was just so blown away by the visuals in this film and the casting. Like this movie came right off the heels of Stranger Things on Netflix.
Yep.
So I feel like everybody just kind of still had that whole like, whale buyers, like group of children being the heroes type of thing. And that's really what this film is
Yes.
about too. And I mean, they got Finn Wolfhard, and then I just love the whole cast of kids. Sophia Lillis, Jeremy Ray Taylor. They were just all so good in their roles. And Bill
Yes.
Skarsgård, he plays an excellent Pennywise. Because this is actually a really funny story. I haven't really told anybody except for like my parents because it's really dumb. But I grew up afraid of shower heads. Every time we would go
What?
to Yeah, every time we would go to a hotel or something, I would look at the shower head to make sure it wouldn't like come off or something, because when I was little, I was exposed to the original It Ministries, and it was the part,
Oh,
I don't know if you've seen it, Kevin, but the part where
yes.
he's I think it's, oh, I can't remember, is it Bill, or I think Bill or somebody's in a locker room, and the shower heads and the showers just come off the wall of this locker room
Mhm.
and just traps the kid and sprays him with water and stuff. Oh my god, that stuck with me like my whole life. Even I'm 31 years old, I will still kind of like at a shower head.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
Shower heads are creepy, but the reason that I am sometimes looking at them with the side eye is because of arachnophobia, because I'm
yeah.
always wondering if a bug is going to crawl out of
It could be
it.
Pennywise. You never know. But
Exactly.
you know, growing up, I would watch that film and just laugh because I'm like, this was considered scary, but
Mhm.
Andy Muschietti did such a good job to like modernize this film and just make it like just one of a kind.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I saw it in the theater, loved it. I did not see the second one. Um, you know, I I don't know why I didn't see the second one. I loved the first one. I just haven't had that moment yet where I'm like, "Yep, it's time to watch it."
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Fair
but I do
enough.
want to see it, and I did love the cast, and I'm anxious to see the adults because the problem in the original one um, was the second half, and it was that the adults
Mhm.
didn't have the same chemistry as the children in the first half. So I'm interested to see if they broke. It sounds to me like they broke that curse for this one, so that's very
I
good.
I feel like they did. I like I said, I really enjoyed, and then I found it really interesting that the kids were able to pretty much handpick who they want to play as their adult selves. Like Sophia got Jessica Chastain to play Beverly, James McAvoy as Bill, Bill Hader as Richie. I know Finn wanted Bill Hader as Richie, like adult Richie, so that was really cool. And they're just all just a great group. Like everybody, the kids, the grown-ups. I mean, I follow a lot of them on Instagram, so I just love seeing their stories and their posts.
Very cool. I did not know
Yeah.
that about the kids picking the adults. I think that that is such a great wow, what a cool
Yeah.
idea.
And it's just, yeah, this like
Very cool.
continuity of the story and the scary elements and the visual effects in this film. Yeah, it's just, I loved it. I
Yes,
got the
very
Art of
good.
It book and everything. It's,
I love that. I love that. You know what? I probably need to rewatch it. That movie's already like what, 3 years old?
yeah. It's like
Yeah.
2017 was when the first one came out.
Wow. That's right. It has been a while. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch
Hmm.
that. I'll watch the second one. Okay, I'm gonna write that one down too. That and Crimson Peak.
Yeah. Crimson Peak is
Okay,
on
great.
Netflix right now.
I'm probably gonna put that on when we're done here tonight.
Sweet. So,
So are we
Kevin,
ready for number one?
what is your big number one reveal?
Okay. So I'm going to say this, and if it's not acceptable, you tell me, and then I will make a decision. But I do have a tie for my first.
That's okay. So do I.
Oh, awesome.
So
Oh
we're
my
in the same
God.
boat.
That's hilarious. I genuinely love equally and the most Scream 1996 by Kevin
Okay.
Williamson and Wes Craven, and Black
Classic.
Christmas 1974.
Yep.
Yeah, those two are. Scream was the movie that made me want to write movies. I
Hmm.
knew from the moment I heard the dialogue and the humor mixed in with this genre, I was sold. I watched it for the first time when I was 15 years old, but it came out when I was 6. So I did not
Hmm.
see it for many years until after it was out. And I distinctly remember um, when I got to the third one, I was nervous because I was like, well, now I don't know if they're going to live or die because there's not a fourth one. Um, and as we know, there's a fourth one and soon to be a fifth one, which I
Hmm.
cannot wait to see. I am not a big trailer watcher, and I have already watched that trailer many times because I'm just so flippin' excited about that movie. Um, but yeah, Scream because it made me want to be a writer, and Black Christmas because it was so dark and so also funny in its own way, but it was dry and very dark humor.
Hmm.
And I I never I don't know. I don't feel like it's ever been done that well. It was another movie where I felt like I was in this experience. I was in this sorority house with these girls, and I
Yes.
watched that movie over and over and over again. And as I'm watching it, I repeat the lines like I'm the characters. And I feel like I'm having their thoughts.
Hmm.
And there's a creep calling me on the phone, and like it just sucks me in every year. I watch it at least once at Christmas, but it's actually a family tradition. Me and my sisters watch it every year,
Oh, very
along
cool.
with the new one. Yeah, we do like watching that movie together.
Yeah.
So those are my two top
I haven't seen the new
picks.
one yet, but it's on my list to watch when I get the chance. But my brother and I sat down and watched the original, and The cookie part.
Oh, the cookie part.
The
Um,
classic cookie part. Oh.
yes. Wait, so you saw the 2006 version?
I think that's the one I saw. I know I saw
Yes.
one of them.
Yes, that's the 2006. So,
Ah, okay.
yeah, that's the
Oh, I didn't
remake.
know okay, so there's one that's older. Okay.
Yes, and
Gotcha.
but you know what? There's one that's also newer. So,
Yeah.
there was one that came out, I believe, in 2019 or 2020, and, even though it was called Black Christmas, it was nothing to do with the originals.
Right.
Um, and I did not see it. And the reason I did not see it is because the trailer made it very clear that the villain was an entire group of fraternity people,
Oh
and it
God.
was like a cult.
Mhm.
So I was like, not gonna watch that rendition.
Right.
It was torn to shreds on all the reviews.
Mhm.
um, and to be honest, so was the 2006. And that's another movie I put on every year just for the nostalgia factor, but it is
Mhm.
terrible. It's a terrible film. It is terrible dialogue, it's terrible pacing, it's terrible, 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 terrible. The only thing that is good about the 2006 movie, in my opinion, is the set. The set is so good. The decoration and the ambience of that is so strong that it actually is better than the original film
It's
in
got like a
terms
very
of,
iridescent look, doesn't it? In a
yes,
way? Yeah.
yes. And the old one is very like, just like you're in like a grimy, grungy, like, hole in the wall. Like, it feels like it looks like it would be a cold house. Like, you get all those vibes. But the decorations in the remake in 2006, it just kind of made me feel like that juxtaposition of horror and beauty, which we sort of talked about with Crimson Peak. I think that that was something that draws me to it, even though it's
Mhm.
absolutely atrocious. But I
Well,
still recommend it.
yeah, no, I literally have to watch this one, the older one, this weekend because I need to see it.
Yeah, you should.
Because if you're
You should.
saying 2006, like the one I watched then wasn't, I'm like, well, dude, I like that one, but
Oh
you're saying
yeah,
this older
watch the
one's better. I'm
original.
like, hell yeah,
The original one is
definitely,
so good. You know what? As a matter of fact, you're gonna have to text me if you do watch it, because
sure.
I want to hear. Also, Sleepaway Camp, because those two movies are going to. I think they're going to give you almost like a new, um, I don't know, like a new alleyway of horror, like kind of how you
Mhm.
were talking about James Wan's films. These films also have that sort of interesting element that sort of sets them apart, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I love them.
Awesome. I
So, what
love how
about
I'm
you?
getting like some new titles to watch too while
Me
talking to you.
too. Me too. And I kind of want to have seen your top one tie, um, but I also kind of don't want to have seen it, so I have something else for my list. But so I guess we're just gonna have to see if I saw them or not. We'll find out.
Okay, yeah. So my favorite, well, okay. So it's the same franchise, right? It's
Uh
Insidious and Insidious 2.
huh.
Those are my top, like,
Oh,
I can't pick between the two, but I just love them all, except for the fourth one. But
oh,
the biggest thing for me are the likable characters in this
yes.
movie. Like, I love Patrick Wilson's character. I love Elise. I love Specs and oh gosh, I can't remember the other guy's name. Um, but yeah, and I love the villains. I love the ghosts, like Parker Crane, his mom in the second movie. Like, it's just French Kiss. It's my favorite.
Amazingness.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm digging and digging in my memory right now because it has been years. But what I do remember is that there's some in between world that Patrick Wilson is getting sort of, he's sleeping into, or he's getting sucked into, and it's this
Hmm.
old woman who's trying to.
Yep. The Black
Is
Bride or
that this
Dark
is
Bride.
Insidious, right? Am I on the right
Yes.
track? Okay.
Yep. So well, it's basically his son that gets sucked into this like other realm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then
Right.
Patrick Wilson's character has to go find him. Josh is
But
the main
but it
character's
was
name.
all a trap because
Mm-hmm. Because they want
the whole
Josh.
time they wanted Josh.
Yes.
Yes, I
And that's
liked
what
it.
the second film's about.
Right. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
because he actually is inside. She is inside of him at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
first.
Yes. And
Oh
kills
my
Elise.
God, you're
And
bringing
then
me back.
Elise comes back as like, an entity that helps them out. Like, but Elise is like the pillar of the films. Like, she's in all four films and she's just a fan favorite. But like,
Yes.
again, the same with The Conjuring. I just love the ghost. I love how James Wan just approaches the scares. And it's just like a fresh story that's never seen before. And there's a lot of creepy smiles in it.
Yep. I have a question for you. Who do you
Yes.
like more, James Wan or Patrick Wilson?
Yeah, right. Because they're in both films.
Yeah,
I
because
like
I'm
James
wondering.
Wan because
Yeah.
he's just a mastermind. Like, and it's
Yeah.
funny because he pulls a Stan Lee in his movies where he appears in them. He
Oh, I
has like
didn't know
minor
that.
roles. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to rewatch it. I'll never forget the scene in the second movie where the little boy is the ghost boy is running around the house when Rose Byrne, who by the way is wonderful,
Yes, I was about
and
to
she's
say.
doing the laundry. Like the
Hmm.
chills that I get, and see that's something that I like about ghost stories is I get the biggest I get tingles, like my hair stands up. Like that actually gives me like a nervous feeling, even though I don't necessarily believe in ghosts. But I I get most scared of, so like if I really want to scare myself, I'll read, ghost stories about people who have experienced things. But if
Hmm.
I'm watching Michael or Ghostface or Freddy, I'm not really scared. I'm not really getting, my hair is not standing up. It's a completely different type of experience. And I like Insidious because it is one of those experiences where my hair goes up and I'm like, oh, it's a ghost.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, good choices. I'm gonna have to rewatch
Yeah.
those.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm like, it made like when I was typing this out, I'm like, I really want to watch these right now. But
Yeah, I'm gonna
I'm
need to
actually
rewatch
like the
it.
opposite of you. I prefer like I watch paranormal stuff like on YouTube, ghost stories, whatever. Fine, no problem. It's like the Michael Myers, the Freddy, the Jasons that actually do creep me out because I mean I know some of it's cinema, it's exaggerated, but that stuff can happen in real life. And
Totally.
I just said in my intro, my grandma always told me, be afraid of the living than the dead.
Yeah.
So I always
That,
like just keep
yeah.
that in mind.
That's interesting. Graham's right. She is right.
Mhm.
That's very true. Because it makes sense. Like I don't, if for someone like me who doesn't even believe in ghosts to be more afraid of them than like a Michael Myers character. I, I do remember this though. I have to say, I rented Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2, probably 10 times when I was a child before I was able to get through the whole movie because I
Mhm.
kept turning it off. I was too scared to watch it.
Oh yeah.
And now I watch those like their background noise. I'm just like, oh, let me put on Halloween right
Right.
now.
Yeah, I know when I saw the last one, 2018, that Halloween film when that came out, my brother and I saw it at the theater and I had him walk me to my car cuz I was just like very uneased feeling.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, and the other day when I was watching this new one, I was like, because one of my friends was here watching it with us, and he was scared and he had to leave, and he's our neighbor, so he's just
Mhm.
across the way. He was like, "This, I don't like scary movies, you guys. I gotta go." I'm like, "This isn't even scary though. Like, what are you talking about? Scary? What's scary? It's just Michael Myers. Like, I don't get
Mhm.
it. Like, what? Do you, but it's true. People get really
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah, for me it was just like the aftermath, like psychological thing.
Yep. 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 Yeah, I can't wait to see the next one. Can't wait. I'm way more excited to see Scream 5 though. I
Mhm.
cannot wait.
That's a franchise I have to sit down and rewatch again because I haven't seen those in years.
I got one of my friends to agree to rewatch it because
Mhm.
he doesn't like it. And um his name's Matty. I don't know if he's been on this podcast or not, but he's not a fan. And I told I told him, I was like, you just got to try again. It's just, and the more I watch Scream, it it's not like it's this it's just it's not a masterpiece. But if you were there at the time and you
Mhm.
know what this film did, it becomes a masterpiece because it's like it was a reawakening of
Mhm.
horror because horror was dead at that time.
Right.
So, yes.
Very, very good picks, Kevin. Very
Thank
good.
you. I think yours were too. Even though I
Thanks.
want to watch Crimson Peak, I almost, now our conversation's ending, I feel like I might want to go with Insidious.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you talk about background noises, and sometimes, yeah, well, I did. I haven't recently, but Insidious is my background noise sometimes. And like
That's
my
so
mom would always
fun.
be like, "How? What? Why?" And I'm just like, I don't know. I just love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's good acting,
Exactly.
it's good story, it's good shots, it's good everything. Like there's no bad in that movie.
Hmm.
Yeah. Very good.
Well, do you have any honorable mentions that didn't make your list?
You know what? I do, as a matter of fact, and I would love to share them with you. So I am a huge fan of the Alien series.
Hmm.
I absolutely love Alien. The first one is the best. The second one is almost as good.
Hmm.
Um, the reason I like the first one the best is it's because it's the most horrific. It's like you feel like you're being stalked, and it's just like Michael Myers movie. Very cool, and I love the fact that they're in space. Sigourney Weaver is a badass. Have you seen this?
I have a long time ago.
Yeah, I would put that on your list, and I would watch all the four original ones. They are
Got
so
it.
good. I also did like the two newer ones, which was Prometheus and Alien Covenant, but
Those I did not
they're
see.
yeah, they're just not as good. Um, Beetlejuice and Hocus Pocus are definitely two of my favorites. I know they're not necessarily horror films, but I do feel like they give me the gothic vibe that
Hmm.
I sort of enjoy in a horror film, with the combination of like just childlike whatever. Like it's just because I'm a third grade teacher, like I like stuff. I
Right.
like
No, of
children's stuff.
course. Yeah.
um and a huge honorable mention, Don't Look Under the Bed, 1999 Disney Channel original movie that can
Mhm.
currently be streamed
Yep.
on Disney Plus.
Yes.
This movie is so good that it is probably my number 6. And this story, it, let I'm afraid to show it to my third graders because I know they will be scared. So I don't think
Oh
I
yeah.
can show it to them unless I get a parent signature, because it's disturbing and
Mhm.
it's so flipping good. And there's another lead actor who became virtually a nobody. I've seen her in commercials every once in a while now, but she to me was so good. She was just the perfect leading lady to me. I just
Mhm.
loved everything. I bought it
Yes.
all. I bought
Yeah,
it
that
all.
one and Halloween Town, the first one, like the part with
Yes.
Calabar in the movie theater, that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. Like,
My kids were scared of that part. They were like,
yeah.
"What the heck is that thing?"
Mhm.
Um, but their jaws and my jaw still drop when Calabar reveals his motive.
Oh yeah.
And I told the kids, I said, this is like Scream. Like, you're getting the whole villain backstory right now. Like, this is
Mhm.
exactly what happens in those movies. And then, and then one of my students raises his hand and he goes, "My aunt's in that movie." I said,
What?
"Shut up. Who's your aunt?" He's like, "Allison Brie." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, she was in part 4." He's like, "Yeah, and she got
Oh.
killed real bad." And I was like, "Yep."
That is awesome though.
Yes, very cool. So yes, that's very good. I do want to say one more. Um, Curse of Chucky. The Chucky
Yes.
series is very strong. in my opinion. I like it. I I love virtually all of them, and ironically, for many different reasons, because I think that that franchise has gone through many changes. But I always feel like it's fun. And Curse of Chucky, I thought this is the horror version. Like Chucky 3 was the comedy one,
Mm-hmm.
and Chucky 5, the Seed of Chucky, was like the slapstick, like airplane one. And they're all like this different. The Bride of Chucky was like this weirdly romantic one. They all have like
Mm-hmm.
their own genre. And
Yeah.
Curse of Chucky was like the horror one. And it was truly scary. And they did it in a way that the doll truly was alive for me. And it, not even in the first one did I find that doll to be scary, but in this one I was like, the whole mood, the atmosphere, I am starting to believe that this could be a thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And to put the cherry on top, they put the lead character in a wheelchair, which
Yeah.
I thought was genius. I was
Yes.
like, I love this. It is
Mm-hmm.
causing me so much stress right now that
Yeah,
she
it's
can't
anxiety
run.
inducing.
Yes. And so I just thought it was really good. In fact, I thought it was so good that I've zoomed a few people and watched it with them because I'm like, you just have to watch this.
And Chucky is just such a classic character in general in the horror movie like genre. You say
Yes.
Chucky, and mostly everybody knows, you know, in some type of way what you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
So
even the kids
yeah.
at school, they know that Chucky before they know the Chucky from
Mm-hmm.
Rugrats, which I
Yeah.
think is very
Yeah.
funny.
Right.
So, what about you? Do you have any honorable mentions?
I do. I got a few. So Paranormal Activity, the first one,
Mhm.
the ending
Mhm.
scared the crap out of me. I was
Yep.
fine until she looked at the camera and lunged at it.
Mhm.
Lights out, but not the full feature film. It's going to be actually the short film you can find on YouTube.
Oh.
Because for me, that really set the bar of content creation for YouTube as a platform. So
Oh.
I have a short film out, and it's kind of just like a horror thriller, and I just posted it right to YouTube. And it's
Huh.
just so creative how these people can make these really scary stories in like 5, 6 to 10 minutes long. So
Yes.
Lights Out really set the bar for that for me.
I just bookmarked it. It's only 20
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah. And then The Purge, the
Oh
first
yeah.
one,
Yeah.
very anxiety inducing. And another thing, like it's again like facing my fear because I just feel like that can happen in real life,
Well, I
unfortunately.
like the concept. I think that that's
Yeah.
very, yeah, like the concept was so interesting. I have to admit, I never saw any of those films, but I have read almost all the literature I could find on them. Not that I don't want to watch them, but I feel like I have already because I know everything about
Mm-hmm.
them. And,
Yeah.
it's interesting. The second one, I'm wondering, did you like the second one as much as the first one? Because a lot of people said that one was better because it was out of a house. A lot of people complained about the fact that they were in just a house in the first one and they kind of wanted to see the chaos of the streets. And that's
Well,
what the second one did.
yeah, I mean the first movie is story. I feel like it's just purely for the story because it's just like some rich guy who feels like he's safe and no one can get to him, but he's wrong. And it was
Oh.
just kind of nice to see like someone get pulled off their high horse in a way.
Oh,
But the
interesting.
second one, yeah, the second one is good too. After the second one, they just start getting dumb, in my opinion.
Ethan Hawke always plays those characters. That's kind of like a douchebag who you're not really voting for, which is weird because why is he the main character then?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me wonder, have you seen Sinister?
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
that
I know.
that movie
Oh
is
my
like a
god.
whole different thing because my brother and I sat down, we watched it, and that movie is the reason why I have a nightlight.
Oh,
It
that's so
messed
funny.
me up so bad.
It's
And
horrifying.
it's terrifying. The videos, the children, like there's nothing creepier than scary like demonic children.
Yes. I
I
mean, it's
can't.
disgusting. The film is disgusting.
Yeah.
And I love, I'm not going to be able to remember her name right now. Um, um, she was in, oh God, Shannon Sossman. Wow, I can't believe I pulled that out. Good for you, Kevin. No, Shannon Sossman. She is a crowd favorite of mine ever since she did um, her little stint in the 90s and 2000s. I can't remember the name of the most famous one. What was it called? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
Shannon Sossman was in, let's see here, I just pulled her up. Rules of Attraction.
Okay, I've
That
heard of
was her
that.
big movie. That's something you need to put on your list if you haven't seen that. It's not a horror film, but
Hmm.
fun fact about Rules of Attraction, Rules of Attraction is technically the first movie in not a series, but in the same universe as American Psycho. And
Oh.
both characters are their brothers. Um, so there is a certain level of psychoticness to the main character in Rules of Attraction, but there isn't murder and death. But I highly recommend it. She
Definitely,
did
yeah.
40 Days and 40 Nights, and she did A Knight's Tale as well. But the
Okay.
reason I'm bringing her up is because she's in Sinister too, and
Hmm.
I am so tempted to watch it because of that, but I just can't because it's just so wrong.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw
Can't.
the second one too in theaters, and mm-mm. Nope.
I can't believe you did that after you
I
watched the
got
first
dragged to
one.
go see it. I didn't want
Oh,
to, but
did you
yeah.
go with your brother again?
No, I went with a friend.
Oh, okay, okay.
So yeah, it was like, and it was like we were late, so we had to this was the Joliet movie theater.
Oh yeah.
So it was like before the time of assigned seating, and we were late, so we had nowhere to sit but the front. Not a good
How
experience.
barbaric that there was ever a time before assigned seating. That is
Right?
barbaricness at its most first world level. That is
Mm-hmm.
the most barbaric thing that existed in my time. Even more barbaric than smoking inside restaurants.
Yeah. Kids will never know these days.
They'll never know.
The
They'll never know.
pains of getting to a movie at like 30 minutes before it started. But
Yes.
I
A
have
stress I
to
never want to
speak
relive.
on behalf of the millennials for my last honorable mention, and that
Oh,
is The Ring.
oh my God.
Mic drop.
You're so funny. What? Tell me, please convince me why that's a good film. Please. I need.
Looking back, I mean, now I just laugh at it. But when you're like, what, 11 or 12, and all the kids in school are just like, oh my God, I just saw this movie called The Ring, and da 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 da. And I do remember watching it and being a little scared at like the faces she, I don't know, petrified or mold. Like that was a little scary for me back in the
Yeah.
day. But I went
I
to Samara one time for Halloween and got confused with Cousin It. So I was at that point, I was just like done with those movies.
That's hilarious that you got confused for Cousin It. In that vein, I have to say, I'm curious. I like The Grudge a lot. In fact, I
Yes,
think The Grudge is scarier and better than The Ring, and I feel like
I
they're a
agree.
very similar film.
Hmm.
Um, and it's weird because people always talk about The Ring. I've only seen The Ring once or twice. I can't even remember if I've seen it twice. And I just remember thinking to myself, I don't understand what the hype was. Yes, she's crawling
Hmm.
out of the TV, but um maybe I guess I because I was only 12 when it came out. So I'm
Right.
wondering if maybe somebody told me that it happened and then when I watched it I really wasn't phased by it because I was so prepared mentally to see it. But I will say that Naomi Watts, she
Naomi
is
Watts.
such an amazing actress, and I think she's a badass leading lady, and I love it when she does horror
Hmm.
films because I think she's
Yes.
great in them. Yeah, I think she's
Hmm.
great.
Yeah,
you know
I
what though, I have
agree.
to say I'm probably going to rewatch that because I would like to see that again just to know. I can't believe we were 12 when that
So
came out.
I know. I remember vividly. I was in seventh grade, and the movie was just like all the rage.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then the
I
second one
remember.
came out, and then there was a third one that came out. The second one is okay. Like, I'm not going to tell you to not watch it, but the third one, don't waste your time.
I have never seen the third one. I did see the second one in theaters, and I distinctly remember this because my friends, all of us wanted to see a horror film in theaters. And for like a 2 month stretch, the only scary movie that was in the theater was The Ring 2. So we ended up watching it like 2 or 3 times in the theater because we were movie theater junkies back then. It
Mm-hmm.
was our favorite thing to do. We would go to Marcus and then we would go to Connie's for
Mm-hmm.
breaded shrimp and pizza.
Oh.
But yeah, that movie was that I, I I I did not like that. I remember I did not like it. I
Right.
remember I didn't think it was scary. Um, but you know what? I did like The Grudge 2 as well.
Yeah.
I didn't like it as much as the first one, but and then they made a third one of that, and I did not see that either.
I think it was just a time where we started to get highly invested in like the Japanese culture
Hmm.
films and books, and that's like what The Ring is based off of, and then
Hmm.
The Grudge is based off another Japanese horror film that's just like another adaptation of it. And it's funny because I was like, oh, well, at least The Grudge and all those guys are over in Japan. They're never coming over here. So we don't have to worry about The Grudge. The third movie is, oh, The Grudge follows an exchange student to Chicago. I'm like, oh, God.
That's hilarious. And it turns out to be Chicago. That is
Yep.
hilarious.
Right
Yeah,
down
no,
the
I
road.
never
Great.
got to the third one. Um, I
It's
saw
okay.
Old recently. Have you seen Old?
No,
Old, do you know what it's about?
I don't. I've never heard of it.
It's these vacationers who go to a beach and
Oh,
the
oh,
beach, yeah,
I saw trailers for that. Yes, I'm sorry.
yes. I loved it. I loved it. I
Yeah, the
recommend
kid
a lot
turns
of
into
people.
like a full-fledged adult and stuff, right? And then another girl.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And
You.
that's based off a graphic novel, and that's actually what triggered the thought just now you were mentioning about.
Hmm.
Anyways, so I thought, oh yeah, and I recently watched it and I really liked it. That's the new M. Night Shyamalan movie. And I guess Signs is another honorable mention of mine, by the way.
Yeah, Signs is good.
That one's great.
I
Oh my
know
God.
Maddie was trying to sell that old movie to Mike, and we were both were just kind of like, what? And hi, Maddie, if you're listening, we're really name dropping you in this.
We are.
So
We
I'll have
are.
him come on sometime.
Yes. You know what? He is funny because I would say I'm an easy critic and he's a tougher critic.
Hmm.
Um but in our older age, I'm noticing that he's starting to like films a little easier like me. He loved Sleepaway Camp. We actually we watched that together. And I just can't wait for you to watch that. I think that should be
Yeah.
date night with you and Mike.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
seriously, that's probably going to be the first thing I watch because I'm very, very curious to hear
And that
and
had two
see what.
sequels.
Okay.
And I saw those first before I saw the first one.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah, and they were just they're outrageously silly movies, but the first one is just I just can't wait to hear what you think about
Yes,
it.
I'm excited to watch it. Well, Kevin,
Yes.
we are running out of time. So, but overall, these top five of ours hold places in our hearts for different reasons, and I highly encourage the audience to watch them. And if you've seen any of these, please let us know in the comments. And also, what are your favorites? And again, I want to thank Kevin for coming on. This was so much fun.
This was amazing. I don't think I've ever gotten to do this kind of a deep dive before with horror films, and I really appreciated it. Thank you for
Yeah,
inviting me.
of course. There's just like a select, like couple people in my life that love horror films, and by select, I mean like three, you included. So.
Yes. I am always going to be there for your horror needs.
So now for my big announcement. I'm heading to YouTube. Not only that, but I'll be attending C2E2 as a professional. And for those that are unfamiliar with that, it's just kind of like a massive Comic Con that happens here in Chicago. And if you are going to be there attending, I would love to say hi to you and interview you, get you guys on the podcast. So please, if you're around, make sure you say hi. We'll be wearing t shirts for the podcast. And we're just, like I said, I'm just going to find some fellow pop culture fans like myself, and we're just going to talk and have a great time. I am so excited. And just overall, again, the Comic Con's being back. And this is a milestone for the podcast, just having that professional credential behind it. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and just supporting this podcast. And like I said, I do have plans now of going over to YouTube. So I will be vlogging C2E2 in our whole time there. And right now I'm really nailing down the content that I do want on my channel. I I just love just everything. And I love YouTube. I love the concept of just like growing an audience and just communicating, possibly just entertaining people. And I've just always, like I said, I love the entertainment business. Back in the day, I wanted to be an actress, but in my 30s, that ship is kind of sailing. But I am hoping to launch this in December. So please, if you haven't already, head on over to the channel and subscribe. I'll have that link in the description as well. And as of right now, I'm going to be doing a makeover on the channel. So it's going to probably get like a new username. And it'll just be another fun channel full of not only movie reviews, but we're going to do some trailer reactions. We're going to do like clip reactions. And I want to introduce something called driving ponderings, where I drive and I like my family lives an hour or so away from me, so it's like every time I'm driving to see them, I ponder the weirdest things, whether it's movies, whether it's just about life. So I do want to introduce like that kind of a concept to YouTube. So it's just going to be random musings while on the road and shopping and finding fun things at stores. I'll take you to Burlington. We can go find some Disney park items that are there. I know people who follow me on I have like a Disney inspired Instagram account. It's called Disney underscore cowgirl. If you're interested in following me on there, it's just Disney spew. So if you follow me on there, you know I like to go to Burlington and see if there's any fun Disney park items for the week. And then, yeah, it's just going to be a journey. And I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I think I am ready to dive into it. I know I've tried a couple times and I've just kind of felt uninspired, but I think now I'm ready. And I do have the words of the great, legendary, amazing Tom Hiddleston. You keep putting one foot in front of the other, and then one day you look back and you've climbed a mountain. That's one of my favorite quotes he says, and I carry that with me. And yeah, so please head on over there. I promise things will be coming. So yeah. And as always, thank you for tuning in. And next week, I'll be reviewing the much anticipated film Marvel's Eternals. Get some Angelina Jolie up in here. I hope you guys have a great week and talk to you soon. Happy Halloween.